Welcome back to another 100 horror movies that you should check out review. This week we're going over Les Diaboliques, which I am pretty sure I have mispronounced every time I've said it over the last week. This is another film that I went into not knowing anything about, and I don't think I'd seen anything like this specifically. I know there are bits and pieces that have been adapted into other films since this was made, but I had a really good experience watching this, and I can't wait to tell you about it, plus a few little things outside of the movie that I find super interesting. And as the title says of this, if anybody knows a lawyer that can help me answer a question, I'm going to have a very important legal question at the end of this film for what would happen if something like this happened. I know that might not make any sense, especially if you haven't seen this movie, so let's get into it. And again, I'm going to apologize for mispronouncing this, like I'm sure I am. But Les Diaboliques is a 1955 French horror film based on the novel She Who Was No More. The plot focuses on a woman and her husband's mistress when they conspire to murder him. But after the deed is done, things start taking a very weird turn, with things like the body disappearing and children claiming to have seen him walking the grounds. So that is the non-spoiler plot crunch. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the movie, I did want to mention something that I find really interesting. The director and producer of this film, Henry Georges Clouzot, if I'm saying that correctly, optioned for the screenplay of this film based off of the book, which prevented Alfred Hitchcock from making the film. However, this did inspire Hitchcock's Psycho in the sense that Robert Bloch, who is the author of Psycho, stated in an interview that his all-time favorite horror movie was Les Diaboliques. And also, if anybody knows how to say that correctly, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, so this is the spoiler alert. There are going to be things mentioned in the plot rundown that may spoil some things. So if you want to watch the movie, pause this, go watch that, come back, and then hit play. You have been warned. Our story begins at a second-rate boarding school in St. Cloud, which is run by a very mean director of the school, Michel Desalle, who is the husband of the actual owner of the school, Christina. To give you an example of what kind of person Michel really is, he is also in a relationship with one of the other teachers from the school named Nicole. Now, in a situation that would normally have two women fighting each other, or at least disliking each other a lot, the two women are actually bound in a friendship based off of their mutual hatred of Michel. Not only at the way that he treats them, but also the way that he treats the children at the school. Well, enough has been enough, and Nicole devises a plan to get rid of Michel forever. Christina, being a God-fearing woman, at first wants nothing to do with this plan. But because she is also a God-fearing woman, she does not want to divorce Michel, because that is a terrible thing to do in her eyes with something of the church, blah blah blah, religion. This plan consists of the girls leaving town and going to Nicole's apartment in a different city, and luring Michel there by Christina threatening divorce. Now, Michel, who is somebody that is very big on how everybody views him, will not stand for being divorced and losing the school and having people talk bad about him. He sneaks away from the school to visit Christina at Nicole's apartment to talk her out of this decision. When he gets there, he is drugged and drowned in the bathtub. He is then brought back to the school and dumped in the pool to make it look like he drowned in the pool, covering the girls' tracks. Without anybody knowing that he had left the school, nobody would suspect that the women had anything to do with it because they weren't around. Smart thinking. Expecting that in a few days, the body would be noticed in the pool and the women would be clear of suspicion, when the pool is drained and there is no body, Nicole and Christina start to freak out a little bit, as though they should. At one point, they come across one of the boys at the boarding school that says he was being punished because the principal, Michelle, told him to rake leaves just a few moments before. With the women freaking out, knowing that Michelle couldn't have done that, things start to take their toll, specifically on Christina, who now believes that she has to come clean to the police about what they did. Next big spoiler warning, I'm super serious. If you don't want to know what happens at the end of this, stop now, because I'm going to get into the conclusion and two scenes that had major effects on me. One as, oh God, Jesus, and the other one as, ha 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 ha. So, I am trusting that if you are still watching this right now, you want to hear what happens. Late one night, Christina begins to hear noises coming from what would have been Michelle's office. Being freaked out, not knowing if there's a ghost or if Michelle is back or what is going on, she goes to investigate. She becomes incredibly terrified when she hears somebody following her, and she runs back to her room. And in the bathtub in her room, she sees Michelle's body again in the tub, the way he appeared when they murdered him at Nicole's apartment. But the body begins to rise as he grips the side of the tub and stands up. Christina has a heart attack and dies of fear. Now this scene right here brings 2 points to the light of day. First off, I do believe this may be the funniest death scene I have seen ever, or at least in the top 5. And the second is this scene right here. Now, I have worn the colored contacts before. I've seen people with the crazy contacts or regular contacts, and popping them in and out is okay. But apparently in 1955, if you needed contacts to make your eyes look like something was off, this is what they did. It almost looks like 2 halves of a ping pong ball tucked in between your eyelid and your eyeballs, and it is so GV looking. I was not a fan of this at all. So it's very weird in one scene to have a creeped out, gross reaction and laugh as loud as I did when Christina finally passed. That was a very weird mixture of a scene there. And this is where we find out that it wasn't Nicole and Christina's plan. It was actually Michelle and Nicole's plan the entire time, with Michelle being in on it from the very beginning. They planned to scare Christina to death so that Michelle could get everything that he wanted, her money, her school, and stay in the position of power that he was without having to deal with going through a divorce. So this is where the legal question comes in. Can you get in trouble for scaring somebody to death? If you never actually pull the trigger, if you never actually do anything to harm the other person except scare them, can you get in trouble for that? I'm asking for a friend, of course. I really don't know what the legalities on that are. I don't know if fright is an actual weapon. If anybody has any thoughts or knows anybody that knows an actual answer, please, 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 for the love of God, answer below. Let me know. Now, this movie ends with not 1, but 2 needs to be talked about and discussed and appreciated scenes. The first one is the boy that earlier had said he was being punished by Michelle pops up again, this time with the slingshot that was taken away from him earlier in the movie. When he is asked where he got it from, he replies that Christina just gave it to him and told him to go have fun. So does that mean that Christina as a ghost is back? I think this is one of those scenes that Wikipedia described in particular to this movie as an M. Night Shyamalan-y kind of twist. However, if this is the first time that it happened, we should not be awarding that title of the M. Night Shyamalan twist to a movie that happened in 1955. we should then be referring to all of his movies as the Les Diaboliques twist, or however you actually say it. And upon the final closing scene of this film, a title card or title scene pops up, telling the audience not to reveal the ending to their friends, as to not to ruin the movie. Let the friends come and see it and experience it for themselves. Which is why I gave not just one, but 2 spoiler alerts in this film. If you haven't seen it at this point and you've already watched the movie, I'm very disappointed in you. Hopefully, you had taken a break, gone and watched the movie, and come back. Or, if you did watch it all the way through, and any of the people that were part of the filming of this movie are still alive, please don't tell them I told you. And now, as a plot twist, I'm not gonna scratch off the poster. Ah! No, I'm kidding. I couldn't do that. That would drive me nuts. So, let's get to the scratching off of this movie. And here we have the scratching off of Les Diaboliques. I am not surprised at all. This is the scene behind here. This is when Michelle rises out of the tub, scaring the bejesus out of Christine. So that is the scratching off of Les Diaboliques. Next week we're going to be checking out Night of the Hunter. Again, another movie that I have no idea what it's about. I haven't looked up any trailers or anything, so I'm very curious to see what we got going on. I want to take a second to say thank you all very much for watching this video. Hopefully hitting the like and subscribe buttons down below, maybe telling your movie loving friends. Super big thank you to my Patreon subscribers, whose names are going to pop up in just a second. I love you all. I also just posted another Patreon video. You should go check it out as well if you haven't already seen it. And until next week, I love you all, and I'll see you next Thursday. Later days.